Hey, this is Commander Bacon, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to start talking about some basic survival information. So stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you about basic survival principles, is the principles of 1 equals none, 2 equals 1, and 3 is better. Okay, so what do you mean by that? Well, if you only have one of something, say one of a fire starting device, you could lose it or you could break it, and it could be non-functional. At that point, you have none. You have nothing. If you have two of them and you break one or lose one, you still have the other one. And if you have three of them, then that's better. And you can so if you have a backpack or a fanny pack or whatever that you have for your emergency situation, you need to strategically place them in different areas, right? So if everything's in your backpack and you lose your backpack, then you lose everything. You don't have anything, even if you had three of something. So keep that in mind as you're preparing for your survival type situation, okay? So then now let's talk about the rule of threes, okay? I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that before, but there's the basic survival rule of threes. You can survive 3 minutes without air, and also along with the 3 minutes, 3 minutes without stopping a serious bleed, right? So if you have an arterial bleed, if you don't stop it within 3 minutes, you're probably not going to make it, unfortunately. You can survive 3 hours without shelter, and that includes dry clothing, okay? That is a shelter for your body as well. We're not doing the whole naked and afraid thing. Clothing and layering is a critical part of your sheltering, okay? It's all about core temperature control. You have to maintain your core temperature. If your core temperature gets below 95 degrees, you get into hypothermia, and you will slowly deteriorate to the point where you won't make it. Unless something drastically changes to warm up your core temperature, you will not survive that. You can survive 3 days without water. Now, by the time you get to that third day, you're hurting. You're in trouble, right? So it's not like you're great for 3 days and then all of a sudden, hey, I really need water, I'm going to die. You slowly deteriorate with your capabilities and your functioning during those 3 days. So you don't want to wait till 3 days and go, hey, you know what? I got to find some water. No, you need to find water right away. And you can survive 3 weeks without food. Some of us, including me, could probably survive more than 3 weeks without food because we've got a surplus fat storage system built in. Enough about that. That brings up another topic with survival. One of the best things that you can do in order to survive any situation is to be in your top physical condition. So I'm working on it. I need to get better at it. Go ahead and if you're lost in the woods, you might have to hike a couple of miles. You might have to hike 10 miles to get out of there. You might have to do some physical things that you're not used to doing. And if you're not in good shape, it can be a problem. So if you want to be able to survive any situation, you need to be in pretty good physical health. Okay? So let's review 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. That's the rule of threes. Okay? Another thing I want to review with you is the 10 C's of survival. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. So if you want to put your survival kit together, the 10 C's is the things that you need to go by. Okay? So first, you need a cutting tool. You need a knife. Now let's talk about some knives. Oh, in your face, right? This is one of my favorite knives. It is a great knife. It's a Kershaw Blur. And no, Kershaw is not a sponsor of this, but I found this to be so sharp out of the box. It's a torsion assist knife, so it snaps open. But the Kershaw Blue, it's relatively reasonably priced. It's got a great shape on the blade, so you can do skinning with it. You can do normal cutting. It's got a pretty sharp little point on it. And like I said, straight out of the box, this will shave hair. And it keeps an edge very well. This is my favorite. This is a brand new one that my wife got me for last Christmas. I haven't used it much because I'm using my other one, my go-to. Let me show you. I've got another one in my pocket. Keep it in my pocket. It's a great knife. It's a red one. It's the exact same thing as this one. So it's the same knife. It's dirty, but it is a Kershaw Blur. It's the exact same knife. I love this knife. Great knife. Can't highly recommend it enough. It's fairly tight in your pocket. It's got a belt clip or a pocket clip, whatever you want to call it. Great knife. So how many knives should you have? 3. You need to get 3. You can have different knives. So like even, sorry, in your face again. This counts as a knife. It's my Leatherman tool. It's a Leatherman Surge. I really like this one. So it's got the pliers, it's got cutters, wire cutters. It's got screwdriver bits. These are interchangeable, right? It's got all kinds of different, again, more screwdriver bits, and all big screwdriver bits. The thing I like about it is when it's in this position, you have access to your blades. So there's a knife blade. On this side is a saw with a replaceable blade. And I've got other blades in the pouch. Okay. On this side, you've got a serrated knife. And over here, you've got a really good pair of scissors. I've cut a lot of stuff with this. These are great scissors. Not like the little Swiss Army knife scissors. These are really, really good. They're very handy. So tie a little lanyard to it. If you take some paracord, pull the inner strands out, you can tie it to the little eyelet on it. And no, this is not sponsored by Leatherman. I wish they were a sponsor. I would love to have some Leatherman tools that I could give away to people. That I could keep and I could try out. So the first C, cutting tool. You need a knife. Second C, combustion device. Fire starters, right? What's the easiest fire starter? This. That's a great fire starter. It's kind of bulky. So what's your second? Lighters, big lighters. Even if they run out of fuel, they still create a spark. So it's got that flint built into it. They take up very little space, and you can have 3. You can have 3. Put one in your pocket, one in your backpack, one in your emergency kit. Whatever you do, get 3 of them, because I guarantee you they'll break. And even get some ferro rods, right? Get something different. Get different ways of starting fires, because at different times, different applications might require a different type of fire starter. So the third C is cover. You need clothing and shelter. Okay, you need to carry like one of those emergency blankets, the shiny silver metallic looking thing. You need at least one of those. Be better with 2 or 3, right? A small little poncho, a throwaway poncho. You just never know. There was a guy who told a story about he was walking his dog out through the woods, and he tripped and fell and broke his leg. Well, he didn't have a cell phone with him, and nobody was home, so he was looking at spending the night in the woods. Now, he did have a little poncho, and he did have one of those emergency blankets. So he was able to wrap himself up in that, along with the poncho, and the dew kept off of him, and his body temperature kept him warm all night long. So clothing, layer your clothing. You want to make sure you have things to protect you from rain, things to protect you from cold. That's all part of it. The fourth C is a container for food or water. Well, not food, for water that can be purified in. So you want a metal container, right? Some kind of metal canteen or something that you can heat up the water to purify it. If you go and get a water source like a stream or a pond, there's all kinds of nasty stuff in there that will tear up your stomach, okay? And if you get diarrhea or start throwing up, that little bit of water that you got in you is no good anymore. It's gone. You will dehydrate faster with diarrhea and throwing up than just normal, okay? So you need a container. Do you need 3 of those? It'd be nice. One would probably do the trick. You're probably not going to lose or break a container. You could break a container, but make sure you have some kind of container. You need cordage. The 5th C is cordage. The easiest thing, the lightest thing, the easiest thing to do is paracord. There's so many things that you can do with paracord. Paracord's kind of small, right? You can cut the paracord open, and there's little strands inside of that you can even tie those together or use lengths of those for fishing line, right? There's so many uses of paracord. That's the easiest thing to do. 50 feet of paracord, maybe more. You know, whatever your backpack or whatever can carry, right? Here's another thing, cotton bandanas. What do you need cotton bandanas for? You can do a lot of things with cotton bandanas. You can filter water with it. You can put it on your head to protect yourself from the sun. It's cover, right? You can use it for signaling. You can use it for toilet paper if you have to. I wouldn't put it on your head afterwards. I'd make sure I cleaned it really good. The 7th is cargo tape or duct tape, right? They even make little survival size packs of duct tape now. It's just a little folded up wad of duct tape that you can easily put in your survival kit. A compass. You need some kind of compass. This is like a military compass. The big thing is if you don't know how to use this, there's no point in carrying it, right? If you do have a military type compass, make sure you learn how to use it properly. It's different than like a Silva style compass. So we're going to get into compasses at a later date, along with our direction finding, okay? The 9th one is a cloth sail needle. It's kind of a good size needle. You can use it for a lot of different things. You can use it even to help if you're doing any kind of weaving or whatever with some natural materials. It can help with that. If you cut yourself really badly and you need to suture yourself, it's not ideal, but you can do it, okay? And number 10, last but not least, a candling device. What do you need by that? Flashlight. You need some kind of flashlight. A headlamp is probably one of the best ways, right? Because that leaves your hands free to do other things. Again, 2 or 3. 3 is better. And make sure you carry enough batteries too. And if it is in an emergency kit that you have, once a month you need to check the batteries in all your devices, okay? Make sure everything's up to speed. Make sure all your fresh batteries are truly fresh. They do have a shelf life. So anyway, let's go through it real quick. The 10 C's, cutting tool, combustion device, cover, a container, cordage, cotton bandanas, cargo tape, compass, cloth sail needle, and a candling device. All right? Does that make sense? And I think that's all we're going to cover. Well, let's go ahead into a pattern of surviving. You must develop a pattern for surviving. What does that mean? Well, this is from some military information that I found. So patterns for survival. So Typically, the most standard pattern for survival is shelter, water, fire, food, in that order. You need shelter, then you need water, then you need fire, and then you need food. Now, depending on your circumstances, you might need fire first. Okay? If it's really cold, or if you fell in the water and it's cold, and your core temperature is going low, before you find water, you probably found water, right? Because you fell in it. But you need to warm up. You need to dry off. And if you do fall into water, the best thing to do is take off all those wet clothes. And no, we're not into naked and afraid again, but it is imperative that wet clothes will hold that cold and draw your heat away from your body. Get those off, dry your skin. As soon as you dry your skin, you'll start to warm up. Okay? And while you're drying your skin, you can dry your clothes. Hopefully you have some extra clothes available, right? You can take that thermal blanket and wrap it around you. So, depending on your circumstances, shelter, water, fire, food. Shelter might be the clothes on your back. So you already have that. It might be adequate. Water, you need to start looking for water right away, because even just 1 or 2 days without water, you're going to start feeling the effects. Fire, it's important to have fire. One of it's just for the mental aspect of it. If you're stuck overnight in the woods, having a fire makes all the difference in the world in your mental aspect, okay? Survival mentality is the most crucial thing. You can have all the skills in the world, and if you're not mentally up to it, you won't make it. You have to be mentally tough along with the skills, right? There's people that are mentally tough with no skills can survive a situation that somebody that's not mentally tough and has all the skills won't survive that situation. I hope that makes sense. So it's all about your mental attitude. If you're doom and gloom and you're stressed out about the situation you're in, you go, we're never going to make it. We're never going to make it. Well, you're right. You're never going to make it. But if you start immediately getting your mind busy, start doing things, start building a shelter, start keeping your mind occupied with assessing your situation, determining how you're going to deal with it, right? Keep your mind busy so that it doesn't wander into self-pity. When it gets into self-pity, then you're doomed, okay? Mental toughness is probably the key to surviving any situation, okay? So another aspect of it, if you're injured, first aid is your top priority. You gotta take care of that situation. And signals. You gotta be able to signal. You gotta have some way to signal, right? And we'll talk about that in another video. So I hope this helps. This is just a pure me talking instruction on basic survival information. There'll be more to come with survival, and we'll get into some hands-on instruction. We'll go outside, we'll do some things, show you how to build some shelters. Again, snares, primitive snares and stuff like that. That'll all be part of it. How to build a fire, friction fire, all these different ways of doing things. You don't just throw a spark at a bunch of sticks and it's going to take off. You got to know how to build your fire, okay? So we're going to get into those later. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure it's not that pleasant to sit there and just stare at me. I am really good looking, though. But in spite of that, I hope it was entertaining. Remember those things that we talked about. Watch it over and over again. Take notes. Remember it. Start putting your survival kit together. It's important. Anytime you go out in the woods, you should have your survival kit with you. Okay? Anytime you go hunting, you should have your survival kit with you. Anytime you are in your car, traveling somewhere, even just back and forth to work, take your survival kit with you. Even if you're going into work, take your survival kit with you into work, as long as all those items are allowed in your workplace. What's a situation like that? Well, what if you're at work in the building, and where I'm at, we're close to the New Madrid Fault. And so we haven't had any earthquakes for a long, long time, but it doesn't mean we won't. So what if you're in a building and the building collapses and there's no help on its way for a while because it's such a catastrophic, widespread calamity, right? You need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to be able to do things to even help others, right? Just like in the airline industry, when they talk about, in case of emergency, the air mask will drop down. Make sure you put yours in place before you try to help others. You have to make sure that you're okay. That way you can help other people. If you try to help them and they're not capable of helping themselves, you're both in trouble. Okay? Help yourself, get yourself situated and sustained, then go help other people. All right, kind of went on longer than what I thought, but this is good stuff. And I want you guys to really think about the survival situations that you might run into and how these principles that we talked about would apply. So until next time, this is Commander Bacon signing off. Have a good one.